So we got the 11/11 spoilers, and more craziness is happening in this chapter. The Gorosei are continuing to fight against Luffy. It's like pretty much like a 3-on-1, and we're seeing some crazy stuff in that fight. A big twist on Luchi versus Zoro, which we thought was over. And then at the end of the chapter, the freaking ancient giant robot thing talks. Yeah, I know. Pretty wild, and we'll get into it. But first, coming off of the previous chapter, we saw the Gorosei finally show up to Egghead. We saw all of their forms. Pretty incredible sequence. Some of them went after Luffy, Venus went after the pacifistas, and Mars went to the lava phase, and we'll talk about that. Zoro supposedly defeated Luchi, and then Jupiter in his worm form like ate Luffy, but at the end of the chapter he was saved by Dory and Bragi, like cut his freaking head off, and then, you know, reintroducing themselves to Luffy, and then they got acquainted again. So now coming into this chapter, one of the Gorosei members tries to force his way into the labo phase. So I assume you're talking about Mars here, because Mars was like the only one who tried to go to the lab phase. And the panel that we see of him trying to break through the barrier is a little ambiguous. Is he like completely destroying himself in an effort to try to break through it, or did he break through it? I mean, even if he did just splatter on it the way that it looks, he would just regenerate, because, you know, that's what they do. Now, this could mean that he's continuing to try to break through it, and then that's another ticking clock, you know, on top of the 10 minutes, or now it's like less than 7 minutes of Vegapunk's message being relayed to the world. Now it's Mars trying to break through the lava phase, or it's Venus, and he's like, I gotta do everything myself, and he just speed blitz his way up to the lava phase, tries to break through with his Shodai Kitetsu. The fight between Rob, Luchi, and Zoro has ended, but it seems that Luchi is still standing. Whoa, we did not expect this, or at least I certainly did not. So like we talked about in the previous chapter, Zoro just took care of Luchi. After Jinbei had finally reached up to where Zoro was fighting Luchi, he heard Sanji like talking on the communicator, and Jinbei talking to Sanji was like, yeah, I see him, he's still fighting, and Sanji was like, stupid mosshead, putting the entire crew in danger, he's a liability. And Zoro was like, oh yeah, all right, bet. And then he hit him with the 3-sword style Huhuva spot hunt and seemingly one-shotted him with it, but he's still standing. Now, I don't know if he's still able to fight at this point, but that definitely messed him up. But I guess this is Oda somewhat protecting Luchi, saying like, yeah, he took that, but he didn't go down. But he's probably out of commission, or at least concussed for a little bit, similar to what Luffy has been doing to Kizaru throughout this arc, I suppose. The fight between Luffy and the Gorosei continues. The giants ask Luffy about Nika, but Luffy still doesn't know what they are talking about. Mercury launches a gigantic wave of hockey, which confuses Luffy in a very funny way. So yeah, this is like the 3v1 that's been going on. It's like Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter taking on Luffy and the giants here. Or originally just Luffy until the giants showed up. And Mercury in his Feng-Ji form, at least according to the Viz translation, like the 4-tusked mythical Zoan boar thing that he is, launching a gigantic wave of hockey. I guess this is Advanced Conqueror's application, possibly. I don't know why this confuses Luffy in a funny way, but the giants block the Gorosei's attacks, and then Luffy creates a baseball bat and hits a home run with the Gorosei. All right, so first of all, I guess this giant wave of hockey is being blocked by Dory and Bragi, which is just like, I think it's a little too much, to be honest. I've talked about this a few times, but the power creep on these guys is insane. There's really no reason they should be this powerful. I mean, I'm not like offended by it or anything. I'm just confused. I mean, I guess pretty powerful for pre-time skip, but they were being overcome by like Galdino and Luffy at points. So I guess, I don't know, something happened, or they weren't trying, or Oda just is like, it doesn't matter. I just need them to be as strong as they need to be right now to help Luffy. And I guess it's just gonna show that all of the giants are ridiculously powerful. They're like all strong enough to fight against the Gorosei. Like once they eventually go to Elbaf after this arc is over, you know, it'll kind of be like what they were doing with Wano, or what they attempted to do with Wano, like all the samurai are really powerful, when really they were just kind of powerful. And they, you know, magically knew Rio. Now, as for Luffy creating this baseball bat and hitting a home run with the Gorosei, that is also wild. And I don't want to keep saying power creep here, but Luffy is so strong right now. He might be a little too strong, or maybe the Gorosei just aren't strong enough, especially since they've just been introduced and they're already kind of jobbing to Luffy, which is interesting. You'd think that you'd set up these essentially final Yonko commanders, right? The final boss of the commanders. If Imu is like the ultimate captain of the villains, right? Because, you know, like as we've seen throughout the series, you have like the one leader villain and then their 5 underlings. Imu and the Gorosei represent the final aspect of that. In One Piece, you'd think that the Gorosei would be protected a little more, built up a little more to be more powerful rather than just relying on whatever kind of satanic magic that they have. Or maybe Oda just wants to portray Luffy as this powerful right now because, I don't know, he has to fight Shanks next maybe. I don't want to get your hopes up, but hopefully something leads to that. And of course, we don't know which Gorosei he's home running here, but at this point it could be all 3 of them at once. The Straw Hat Gang runs towards the Giant's ship to escape. All right, we're making some progress here. Finally gonna get off of Egghead, probably within the next 3 chapters. The Marines try to comfort Kizaru, who tells them to let him rest. Yeah, Kizaru has taken some unfortunate L's in this arc, although he's getting beat down by Luffy, who is like, you know, one of the strongest characters in the series right now. So it's okay that Kizaru is like benched by this. It's not like he's getting beat by Sanji or something. At the end of the chapter, the Giant wakes up completely, and his first words are, "I'm sorry, Joy Boy." So this is what I was talking about at the beginning. This is another crazy moment in the chapter. So they're talking about the ancient robot giant thing that was at Egghead. And when Luffy went Gear 5, it like suddenly activated. And we didn't really see much of it. It's kind of just been a cliffhanger with it like 2 times at this point. But now we're coming back to it again. It's saying, "I'm sorry, Joy Boy." And Joy Boy, of course, is like the first Luffy. The first guy to eat the Nika fruit, I'm assuming. Of course, relates to Void Century stuff because that's when it comes from. It was made by the Ancient Kingdom, which Joy Boy was for sure a part of. Now, what is he sorry about? We don't know. You'll have to ask a hardcore One Piece historian, but even then, they're only going to be able to speculate. We don't have enough information in the story yet to fully decipher what all of this stuff with Joy Boy means, but I'm sure it relates to him and his failure to win the war against Imu and the proto-world government at that time. But yeah, we'll talk way more about this chapter in the follow-up full summary video, which hopefully we'll get tomorrow. So subscribe for that if you haven't already. And if you like the video, guys, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And please follow me on TikTok and Instagram, whichever platform you like to use more. I'm trying to get 10,000 followers on either of them. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.